Hello. Welcome to the Norwegian Center for Design and Architecture, in short, DOGA. We are proud to host this Norwegian book launch at our center. My name is Judith Kloppen, and I work as a strategic design management advisor or design leadership. I find that design of services is particularly interesting because it often includes all design disciplines and sometimes even architecture. In addition to design for greater customer experience, service design often has an impact on the internal organization. And the design disciplines are constantly evolving, and LiveWork was the world's first service design company. And one of the founding partners, Lavrans Løvli, used to be a board member of the former Norwegian Design Council. In Norway, we see an increasing demand for service designers, particularly in the public industry or public sector. At DOGA, we therefore have organized courses in service design based on the @ONE methodology, and which was developed by Simon Clatworthy, professor at the Oslo School of Architecture and Design. And these courses are both for designers and for their clients, so they get to know each other and the way they work. And for buyers of service design, it is important to understand what is service design and how does service design create value for all stakeholders in the customer business organization relationship. And this book that will be launched today will give you valuable insight. The program today will be as follows. There will be an introduction to the subject given by Tor Andreasen, professor at NHH and also head of the Center for Service Innovation. Then there will be an introduction of the book, Service Design for Business, by Ben Reason, co-author and partner at LiveWork. This will be followed by a debate with panelists and you as the audience as well. And tapas and wine and soft drinks, book buying, and not the least, signing will take place outside until 5. Because we're closing at 5, or the store has to close at 5 today. DOGA and LiveWork are both partners of CSI, or the Center for Service Innovation. This is an 8-year research project funded by the Research Council and led by NHA in Bergen. And service design is becoming an increasingly important area of research in CSI. And now the leader of CSI, Tor Andreasen, will give an introduction to the topic. Tor?
Thank you so much, Judith, for the wonderful presentation. I'm just delighted to be here talking about service design. As you will know or listen or understand that I'm not an expert, but I'll try to not make a fool of myself. I just realized that today's topic is in design thinking and business is just very important. It's interesting and it's relevant. And those are the three main ingredients for any research or any study you'll be doing that you need to figure out, is this relevant, is it interesting, and is it worth studying, and can we study it in a rigorous manner? From the CSI partners, we learned that this is in high demand. People are really asking for it, and we see a huge asking for more competence, more skills, more capacity into this field by the research or by the business partners. The paradox is when I listen to the dean of AHO Architectural Design School, he tells me that there are not many students seeking into these courses, design courses or design thinking courses or service design courses. And I find that as a paradox when you know that the industry in the world, and at least in the modern world, is like 70 or 80% of the gross domestic product is coming from service industries. So 30% is coming from the goods sector or manufacturing sector, and 70 or 80% is coming from service, which I think is a paradox that students do not apply and seek into those programs where they most likely would be spending the most of their career. As you know, I'm not a trained design thinker or a service designer. I just swim and enjoy the conversations with the people who do have that. I am a trained economist. I am a business school professor, and I'm limited to that context. That's what I understand. But I have been listening into the conversation. I have been reading tons of articles. I have been enjoying working together with the professors from Oslo. So I learned, and I'm a latecomer to the party. But I'm delighted that I did arrive at the party. I think this is one of the really, really exciting areas. And I think business has a lot to learn from this field, and vice versa. But my point of departure is that the purpose of any firm or organization is to create, communicate, and capture value. So that is the foundation for everything. So independent of whether you're in government sector or you're in private sector, you will create value, you will communicate value, and you will try to capture value through your pricing mechanism. With this as a backdrop, I have 3 reflections pertaining to service design thinking and design thinking and service design that I would like to share with you today. And I'm trying to be a little bit provocative, so but don't throw tomatoes at me. I'm just trying to ignite a discussion here. But my first reflection is that design thinking is an alternative approach to complex problem solving. In business schools, we train our students in analytical approach to problem solving and decision making, based on theory and financial numbers. Through case teaching, we expose them to numerous business cases, and the whole idea is then for them to learn from a pattern. So by observing different cases, different real problems, they should see a pattern here and learn from the pattern, and also jump to conclusions. And I see the limitations of that. So to me, design thinking is an alternative approach to complex problem solving that we do not teach or lecture at business schools. And I think we as business schools have a lot to learn and gain from that approach. So thank you for providing that to us, and we've tried to pick that into our curriculum and working hard to do that. My second reflection is that service design is a way of working. So design thinking is a way of solving problems, but also service design is a way of working. And by many academics and designers are hugely misunderstood. And when I claim that, it's because when I was listening to one of the founding fathers of a doctrine or a paradigm within marketing, Steve Vargo, which is the founder of the service dominant logic. And I was listening to a video interview by him a couple of weeks ago, and I was just shocked by what he said. I am skeptical to service design and design thinking because it would limit us to goods dominant logic. So either he hasn't got it, or he has got it. But when I combine that observation with the comment made by the dean of AHO that few students are seeking into this field of service design, but more design, I'm left with the impression that the goods dominant logic, the stuff, the materials, are still dominant in our preferences and our choices out there, which could then indicate that it might easily take us into a goods logic, whereas we're supposed to be in a service logic. Because I tend to agree that in my experience, service design is holistic. In marketing, we talk about the 7 Ps. I don't think I'm capable of remembering them, but at least I've product, place, promotion, and price, and then there are 3 more that I think I remember, but the 7 Ps in marketing mix. It's a blending of them with a purpose. And the purpose is to either to create or initiate some customer's behavior. And that could be adoption or retention. So you adopt something because it's beautifully or elegantly designed, or you become a customer and you repeat your behavior. Or it could be a state of mind that you want to be in a positive attitude, or be in a customer delight. And positive attitude leads to you want to approach an object and start using it again and again. And if you're a customer delight, you're offered tons of positive word of mouth, which is good for business. Or it could be an emotional status, that you are aroused or you're sleepy. So your emotions are in a very high aroused or you're sleepy. So service design to me is so much more than just form and functions and color. It's the design is the entire experience with an end result. So you have decided upfront that you want to have this as a state of mind or a behavior or an attitude. My third reflection is more substantive and related to design thinking and service designs being decoupled from theory, from being decoupled from business performance, decoupled from measurement ideology or measurements methods. In my mind, I observe that, or in my reflection, I observe that the industry is still working very, very hard to justify itself, its own existence. I think we're beyond that point. we can just take it for granted that it's been accepted. When you observe a business, they start employing designers, they start employing business thinkers or people in that industry. You look at consulting firms, they started buying up design companies. When you look at Harvard Business School, they have now launched a new service design thinking course for the MBA students. So for me, we're beyond the fact that we need to justify it, so let's just take it one step further. The thing is, and that we need to think about, is that the chief executive officers, the chief financial officers, the chief marketing officers are looking for the effect of design thinking and the effect of service design. So both how we think about how we approach the problems and how we work to get there. So it's beyond that, and they're looking for the implications on important business customer variables and also business performance. But to offer such evidence to business community, we need to be able to measure the effect, if any, of key variables from design and design thinking. So my reflection is that there is no or only limited culture for measuring service design or design thinking, or designing studies that would disclose any correlation between key constructs. And how do we know that the proposed solution will work or is the best we can get to if we don't measure it upfront or at least after the fact? So I think that is one of my strongest criticisms of this field, that we need to take it one step further to document the effect of different solutions. One of my claims is that how do we know that the proposed solution is not a local solution, but a global solution? It's the best we can get to when we don't test upfront. So in numerous design lectures, I have asked the presenters for a theoretical foundation for the thinking, and hoping to link the answer to my somewhat limited understanding, but at least by understanding the theory, I can get some aid or guidance to how I can understand or approach this problem. And I'm sorry to say that I'm still waiting for a good answer. I'm still waiting for a good answer when it's linking this to theory. And the paradox is, it's such a strong link from design thinking, from service design as a discipline, to consumer behavior, for example, or decision making that we know so much about from theory and from studies. So it's easy to link it, but we need to make that connection between the design environment into the business environment so we can see the links here. So design thinking and service design's goal is to make a service more efficient and effective, to make it very blunt and very, very simple. So we design something with the purpose of making it more efficient or making it more effective. So for increased efficiency, for example, design it for a higher degree of customer participation. So I want to make this service more efficient in its way. So we can design the service with a view to engage the customer to a higher degree. But what are the consequences for the customer's perspective when they get more involved? So they increase their own input, but what is the output? So you can take this into a discussion of service productivity, which is a huge area, and how can service design and design thinking help in Norway to increase its productivity, given that 75% of GDP comes from service sector? And the Productivity Commission that just launched their second report was crying for help and input in that field there. How can design field aid us in improving and designing a service with a higher efficiency, for example? If I design for effectiveness, how do we know that we are triggering the right emotional responses for cognition, attitude, and behavior? To me, the ultimate goal would be to perform a brain scan to see or detect the different responses to various stimulus. So we're putting people in a tunnel, and we provide them with different stimulus, and which part of the brain is flushing up. And is this the fear, is this the sexy part, or is the fun part of the brain? Or which part of the brain is flushing up? Are we triggering the right part of the brain? And here's my conclusion or my prediction that is somewhat provocative. While design schools gave us a design as an approach to problem solving and way of working, business schools will give us the link to business performance, and thus make it an important approach and a tool for managers in their effort to create value for customers. While this might sound provocative and boring, it is what will make the field sustainable. Thank you so much.